My favorite sitcom when I was growing up was Roseanne. And I think I've talked about this probably at length before somewhere on the internet. I really liked that it was a working class family that was very, very imperfect. They were never ashamed of showing the problems that they had, the mistakes that they made, the struggles that they went through from getting their lights turned off to like getting their electricity turned off because they couldn't pay the bills to you know their kids relationships moving faster than they probably should. I thought it was a really relatable and realistic portrayal of family life. I really liked that Dan and Roseanne were very, very committed to each other, and committed to making a good life for their family, even though, they didn't have all the resources that they could have. And it was a really groundbreaking series for a lot of reasons. I don't think that there's really been a sitcom like it before or since. They were unabashedly liberal, they were pro union, and they talked about those things without reservation. They I believe Roseanne was responsible for the first on-screen kiss between two women in prime time. So even though I think they didn't have the most forward-thinking outlook toward homosexual relationships, they were at least talking about it. They weren't pretending it didn't exist. And I think especially as people in and around my generation grew up and turned to the internet and these things called blogs and started talking about life, and you had a certain portion of the population of people who are blogging talking about how it's not all perfect, how being honest about mistakes that you make and fears that you have, especially as a parent or even just as a human being, that these things happen and they're not something to be ashamed of. If you're comfortable talking about them, you'll find some support somewhere. And I think those of us who take that approach to life and to our internet presence have a lot, can thank Roseanne for that. I think she really opened the door for women to be honest about things that they were struggling with. But she was never, she was always very strong. She wore her heart on her sleeve, and she admitted to being afraid and scared sometimes, but I never got the impression that she was weak. She knew she was strong. And I'm really rambling here. I really liked that show, and it really bums me out that there's not shows like that on anymore, where people just don't give a fuck and they really want to have their vision on screen. And they don't care that there's going to be serious criticism hurled at them, and there was, even now, aside from whether or not you thought Roseanne was funny or good. A lot of people thought that someone of her position in life shouldn't be portrayed on TV, which is just ridiculous. I mean, there are a lot more broke people in this country than there are upper middle class and rich people, so why should they get to be on TV all the time? I mean, we're the ones watching the shows, and we're the ones, making the advertisers dollars. Why can't we have a show that we can relate to? So yeah, Roseanne was when I was a kid, definitely, and even now, even more so now that I'm a mom and a wife and not rich. I really find this show very relatable, and I miss it. I wish it was still around, and it sucked that it ended the way it did, because it was just the last two seasons just like didn't make sense, or was the last season? I don't remember, but yeah, Roseanne, probably one of the best sitcoms ever.